personal story of mine. I haven't really shared this with people, but I was like, God, when is the time that I felt the wind get knocked out of me? And this was the first thing that popped up when I genuinely felt like I can't breathe and I don't really know what tomorrow is gonna look like. And that might sound dramatic, but if you've ever been in this moment, you know exactly the thought, you know exactly the feeling. I had actually been set up with this guy, and he was like the nice guy. He was the guy everybody loved. He was a church kid. Everybody was like, you should totally go on a date with him. He knows the Bible so well. He wants to be a preacher. It's funny how people want to set you up like that. Miles is a good setup person, but this one was not a good setup. Everybody had high expectation. So I go on this date, and honestly, I was just expecting great things. And I just thought it was going to be great, smooth sailing. I did not see anything coming. I didn't really feel like I needed to have any kind of like boundary talk with him because he's a church guy. He loves Bible. He wants to be a pastor. It'll be great. So we go on this date, and we get back, and then he starts kissing me. And then he starts touching me very inappropriately, and I get really uncomfortable, and it really shocked me. I kind of just remember just being frozen in time. And I don't know if that's ever happened to you, and the reason I'm sharing that, even though that's super personal, is because I've talked to other people, and there's too many girls this has happened to not say this, to not help people who are still in that frozen moment. And I pushed him away, and I said, no. And he looked at me, and he smirked, and he laughed, and he said, hey, listen, there are plenty of other fish in the sea. And then he left. And I cannot lie to you, it felt like the wind got knocked out of me. I felt so belittled. I felt so ugly. I felt so devalued. And I went inside, and my roommates were there, and I just cried. I couldn't even talk. The next day, I just laid on the couch, didn't do anything, and I'm not that person. I'm like, wake up, what are we doing? But I couldn't move. Like, I was just knocked out because I didn't expect it. It came out of nowhere. And honestly, I was really bitter towards him. Sin will knock the wind out of you, but something else that will keep the wind knocked out of you is unforgiveness. And I want to talk to y'all about that because we need a fresh wind. We really do. We need individuals to have a fresh wind, and we need a world fresh wind. But if you want a fresh wind, one, you got to look at the wind of your life, and you got to get the sin out of your life. You got to stop jumping on the ships that you know are going to lead you astray. But two, you got to forgive the people who did things to you that were totally unfair and totally unjust, that you got to forgive them. And it's so hard, and it's so painful, but it's actually required. It's actually something that Jesus instructs, that we have to forgive people so that we can love people. We have to forgive people so that we can move on. I want to read y'all something I think is really, really crazy. It's actually the story, the science behind the crucifixion. It says this. It says, normally to breathe in, the diaphragm, the large muscle that separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity, must move down. Yes, we did just read this when we talked about the wind getting knocked out of you. It's weird how similar this is. This enlarges the chest cavity, and air automatically moves into the lungs. To exhale, the diaphragm raises up, which compresses the air. We just talked about this. This is the science behind the crucifixion. Then it says, as Jesus hangs on the cross, the weight of his body pulled down on the diaphragm, and the air moved into his lungs, and it just remained there. The weight. Do you understand that the weight that Jesus was carrying was the weight of our sin? So who knocked the wind out of Jesus in this moment? We did. It's our sin. Somebody else's sin might have knocked the wind out of you. It's weighty.